Hi guys, welcome to my video on standard on auditing 701. We are going to be studying this standard today. It is a new standard which has been made applicable from accounting periods 1st April 2018. Now, the name of the standard is Communicating Key Audit Matters in the Independent Auditor's Report. A little background for this standard. Earlier, the audit report used to only mention the kind of opinion that we are giving, either it is an unqualified opinion or a qualified opinion, adverse or disclaimer of an opinion. But this used to not give a lot of value to the readers of the audit opinion. All that they knew is one of the four words, one of the four types of opinion is going to be mentioned in the audit report. But beyond that, there was no communicative value in the auditor's report. To enhance the value of the auditor's report, to enhance the communicative value, to provide more communication and more understanding to the readers of the audit report, Key Audit Matters paragraph was brought into existence, and this standard came into existence by providing greater transparency about the audit that has been conducted. Basically, what this standard says, during the audit that the auditor does, he will come across certain matters which are of significant judgment or which have taken significant time for the auditor to conclude upon. Such matters should be brought to the notice of the users of the financial statements and the readers of the audit report in order to give them more understanding that these were the significant areas of audit, so that they will also have some more understanding beyond just the type of opinion that the auditor is issuing. So with this, let's read the first answer. Scope of Essay 701. Essay 701 deals with the auditor's responsibility to communicate CAM in the auditor's report. CAM is abbreviation for Key Audit Matters. It is intended to address both the auditor's judgment. So this standard will help the auditor assess as to what is CAM, as to what to communicate, and the form and content of such communication. So basically, it is giving us two things, basically helping the auditor with two things. It is telling the auditor as to what is to be adjudged as key audit matters and also how do we communicate them. Now, third point, the purpose of communicating key audit matters is to enhance the communicative value of the auditor's report. Like I said, first we used to only tell the type of opinion that the auditor's report is about, but now we will, with key audit matters, the communicative value increases. The readers of the auditor's report will have much more idea about the audit. So that is going to help them understand the entity better. And how is this done? By providing greater transparency about the audit that was performed. Fourth point, it provides additional information to users of the financial statement to understand the matters that were of most significance in the audit as per the auditor's professional judgment. Fifth point, this essay applies to general purpose financial statements of listed entities. So for all listed entities, this standard has to be mandatorily complied with, and circumstances where auditor decides to communicate CAM. So let's say there's a private company and the auditor decides that I want to communicate the key audit matters. So he can do so because there are two circumstances that are mentioned in the standard. It applies to all the listed entities and also circumstances where auditor himself will decide that I want to communicate key audit matters. Sixth point, very important, Essay 705. Essay 705 is modification of the opinion. Basically, when you want to give a qualified, a disclaimer, or an adverse opinion. So what does this say? Essay 705 prohibits an auditor from communicating CAM in a disclaimer of opinion. Now basically, what is a disclaimer of opinion? When you don't have required information to conclude on the audit, you give a disclaimer of opinion, basically trying to say that I don't know much about the audit, that's why I'm giving you a disclaimer or a warning that I myself am not aware of the audit and any possible misstatements could be both material and pervasive. Right. So SSM. So when you don't have enough information, how can you even communicate key audit matters? Because you don't have enough information about the client, you are giving a disclaimer of opinion. So in that circumstance, definitely you cannot give a key audit matters paragraph. Also, one more very important thing. You may not have any key audit matters to give in a listed company, but key audit matters paragraph is always compulsory. So you will have to mention the heading key audit matters paragraph and you can write that there were no key audit matters that came to the attention of the auditor. Next answer, again very important. Important note about CAM. So what does this say? There are 4 points in this answer, and basically it says that key audit matters is not a substitute for other reporting responsibilities. That is the main crux of this answer, that you cannot do away with other reporting responsibilities that have been set out by other standards and by the applicable financial reporting framework. Key audit matters is not a substitute for that. Key audit matters paragraph and SA 701 is in addition to already existing reporting responsibilities. That is a key differentiation recognition that the auditor must get and must appreciate. Number one, it is not a substitute for disclosures in the FS. You can't say, okay, I will not give disclosures because I'm giving CAM. No, it is not a substitute. Second, a substitute for expressing a modified opinion. If you have to give a modified opinion, you have to give it. You can't say in the CAM I've written something, some kind of text that gives a hint of modification of opinion. So I'll give a CAM and I'll give a clean opinion. No, if you want to give a modified opinion, if you have to give, you have to give it. CAM is not a substitute for a modified opinion. Third point, a substitute for reporting as per SA 570. SA 570 talks about going concern when there are conditions that may cast significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. So if there are conditions that may cast a significant doubt, going concern seems to be in jeopardy, then you have to report in accordance with SA 570. CAM is not a substitute for SA 570. Fourth point, it is not a separate opinion on individual matters. So the first 3 points, it is substitute for disclosure, substitute for a modified opinion, that is SA 705, substitute for SA 570, and fourth, it is not a separate opinion on individual matters. It is just to highlight the significant events that have occurred, significant challenges, significant decisions, significant areas where professional judgment had to be exercised. We are just highlighting those areas. It has nothing else to do with all these substitutes that are mentioned over here. Next answer, how do we determine key audit matters? Now, the auditor shall determine key audit matters from the matters communicated with those charged with governance. This is a very important point. You cannot choose something as a key audit matter if you have not discussed it with management in advance. It has to be something that you have discussed with the management earlier. Discussion with management is mandatory. The management can't get a surprise tomorrow that the auditor's report is containing some fresh key audit matters which they never knew about. It has to be something from the matters that we have communicated with TCWG earlier. Next point, for determining CAM, the auditor shall consider the following points. First, areas of higher assessed risk of material misstatement or significant risk. So any kind of area where you have assessed a higher risk, maybe revenue, maybe investment. So these kind of areas may be considered as a key audit matter. Estimates, impairment analysis, these also have a lot of estimates that are placed. So you require a lot of professional judgment. Point number 2, significant auditor judgment relating to areas in the financial statements that involved significant management judgment, including accounting estimates. Again, something like impairment analysis, going concern assessment. Then you have your provisions, provision for expenses, provision for warranty, any kind of provision. So all of these areas require management judgment, and then even the auditor has to apply his professional judgment in order to check if these areas are represented true and fair view and they have been estimated fairly. So again, these areas can be selected as key audit matters. Point number 3, effect on the audit of significant events or transactions that occur during the period. So when this can be a CAM, like maybe an IPO the company has come out with an initial public offering or a further public offering, or the company has done a buyback of shares, or it has issued ESOPs. Any kind of significant event that has happened can also be a CAM. Next answer, communicating key audit matters. So this is basically giving you the form and content of how key audit matters is to be communicated. And see, we see the first answer, scope of CAM, the fourth point. The second point. It is intended to address both the auditor's judgment as to what to communicate. So this was there in the answer, how to determine CAM, and the form and content of such communication. This is there in the answer, communicating of key audit matters. So let us see, how do we have to communicate? The auditor shall describe each CAM using an appropriate subheading under the heading key audit matters. So basically you'll have a heading key audit matters, and then under that you'll have separate subheadings for each key audit matter that you have selected. Second, the description of each CAM shall include a reference to the related disclosure in the FS. So basically, if you are having a CAM on, let's say, issue of equity shares, so then you will have to make a reference to the disclosure on equity share capital. Third point, it shall address why the matter was considered to be one of the most significant audit and determined to be CAM. So you have to give an explanation and for your rationale of why this has been selected to be CAM. Fourth, it shall state how the matter was addressed in the audit. Now, CAM does not mean you did not audit that area properly. It took a lot of time to audit. So basically, you have to tell why that was of importance and how did you address it in the audit. How did you finally conclude on that topic? Okay. So first point was heading and subheading is required for every CAM. Description shall include a reference to the disclosure. Third point is you have to tell why it is selected as CAM, and fourth point is how it was addressed. Next point, next question, circumstances in which CAM is not communicated. So even though you may be a listed company, you may not communicate CAM in certain circumstances. There are two circumstances. Point number one is law or regulation prohibits public disclosure about the matters. So if law or regulation is prohibiting disclosure about any matter, then you may have you can do away with CAM even though it's a listed company. Second point, in extremely rare circumstances, the auditor determines that the matter should not be communicated because the adverse consequences of doing so would outweigh the public interest benefits of some communication. So basically what this point is trying to say is that the communication of CAM in this situation, the benefits of doing so would be lesser than the benefits of not doing so. It would be better not to communicate this point than communicating it. Then also the auditor can decide that I may not communicate a CAM. Last answer, documentation of key audit matters. So what do we have to document? First point, matters that was selected as key audit matters and the auditor's rationale for selection. So basically matters that you chose for the CAM and why did you choose them as CAM. Second point, where applicable, rationale for auditor's documentation that there is no CAM. So I said, even if it's a listed company, you may decide that there is no key audit matters. So if you decide like that, you will also have to document why you feel there are no key audit matters. And third point, where applicable, rationale for not communicating a CAM. So first point is where you had CAM, why did you have them? Second point, where you didn't have CAM, why did you not have CAM? Third point is where you had CAM, but you did not communicate, why did you do so? Due to law or regulation, or due to the second point that public disclosure of the same, the benefits of doing so would be lesser than the benefits of not doing so. So basically this is your standard on key audit matters. Not a very complicated standard, very simple standard, but it has a lot of benefit. It increases the communicative value of the auditor's report and provides greater transparency. So I hope you've understood this standard. Thank you for your time. Please do like, subscribe and comment if you've liked my videos. That helps motivate me a lot. Humble request to do so, and see you in my next video. Thank you.